Welcome back to Talking Wealth. On today's show, we have Caleb Eplett, Chief Product Officer at YCharts, talk about how the platform is helping financial advisors deliver a better client experience. So we're going to explore how YCharts equips advisors with tools for research, portfolio analysis, better communication, to make it easier to build trust, tell a clearer story, drive smarter investment conversations. Caleb is also going to share how the right data and visuals can turn complex financial concepts into insights that resonate with clients, which is basically how you stand out from the crowd. Plus, maybe we'll talk a little bit about how we use YCharts at Withdrawal Wealth. But first, a quick word from our sponsors. Today's show is brought to you by our sponsors at Betterment Advisor Solutions. If you happen to be thinking there's got to be a better way to grow my RIA, you're not alone. With Betterment Advisor Solutions, we do the heavy lifting so you can focus on what matters most, your clients. From improved service that makes asset transition smoother to fast, paper-free onboarding that delights clients on day one, we've built a digital-first platform designed to streamline your operations and make life easier. Now, if you're thinking, wow, they take the paper out of paperwork, then you'd be right. Grow your RIA your way with Betterment Advisor Solutions. Learn more at betterment.com/advisors. That's betterment.com/advisors. Investing involves risk. Performance is not guaranteed. Caleb, welcome to the show. I think they brought me in to pinch hit for Michael because we are fellow Midwesterners, right?
I think so.
For those who don't know, YCharts is based in Chicago. You're not there anymore. You guys have been a huge supporter of ours for years, and we love the partnership. I think I've been using YCharts for 6 or 7 years now. So our listeners definitely know the name. But for those who haven't used the platform, like, how do you describe what YCharts does?
Yeah, it's a great question, Ben. I guess would be remiss not to start by saying thank you for having me on. Honored to be here. Been a huge fan of you and you and Michael doing Animal Spirits kind of since it went live. So, it's been an awesome journey to watch. I think in a parallel, similar to, how much, your show and Ritholtz Wealth has grown over that time period. YCharts has changed quite a bit too. So I think your audience knows YCharts really well. You've done an amazing job of telling stories with our data and our visuals and our charts especially. And that's a huge part of what we do. It's still kind of the backbone of what we do. But, YCharts has evolved over time to be a true end-to-end platform for advisors, from everything from researching individual investments and market data, building portfolios, analyzing portfolios, putting proposals together to discuss those investment ideas with their clients, and then keeping an eye on that data, monitoring those strategies going forward. So I guess maybe a more concise way to put it is we've got everything you need as an advisor to develop, manage, and present your investment advice.
So what are the pain points that advisors experience that they come to you with and they say, hey, make our lives easier, more efficient. We just want to talk to clients. We don't want to spend a ton of time doing research, and because some people really don't know how to do that or don't have the time. So, like, what are the pain points that advisors come to you with?
Yeah, so the main one's time and efficiency, right? So, you've been in this business a long time. You know that there's a lot going on. The average person probably thinks advisors are sitting there paying attention to the markets, paying attention to market data, looking at investments all day. That's just really not the case. But you do have to stay informed. You have to be smart. You have to be ready to answer client questions, stand out from the crowd when you're out there meeting with new prospects. So giving, advisors a platform to help them efficiently stay educated, have great strategies that they can present to clients, and have those concise conversations with prospects and with clients to, really help them understand how they've got their best interest in mind are the big things that we step in and do.
So one of the bigger themes in wealth management space over the past few years, and probably for the foreseeable future, is just the rise of alternative investments. And the hard part about this is that the data can be a little harder to come by for these alts, right? And tracking them, and they're more liquid, so it's not like you're seeing a tick by tick, chart or update on the data. So what is YCharts doing today in terms of the data in this space? And then, like, what's on the horizon that advisors can look forward to? Because as more and more advisors utilize these tools and these strategies in their client portfolios and their financial plans, they're going to want to be able to better report and present. So, like, what is YCharts thinking about the alt space?
Yeah, it's a great question, Ben. Alts are everywhere. We're hearing it from all of our clients, everyone from, the very retail advisor, all the way up the spectrum as far as you go. You've been around alts probably your whole career, being on the institutional side, right?
Yes, and I early in my career, one of my roles was performance reporting and risk reporting, and it was really difficult because the marks come in at different times, and because the liquid nature, some of them are monthly, some of them are quarterly, some of them could be on a lag, and so trying to get everything in the same place, you could be waiting a long time to. You have to kind of go with what you have, but the benchmarking is not always easy, right? And
Yeah.
the timing of the cash flows, and so I think the fund structures have changed a lot these days to make it a little easier for people. And I know advisors are using things like interval funds, which do have better NAV pricing and updating. And so, how are you thinking about integrating those kind of funds that are more advisor friendly?
Yes, those evergreen funds, those are a lot easier to deal with. We already have amazing coverage of the interval funds out of the BDCs, within YCharts. So you can evaluate those. You can look at them the same way you would a mutual fund. You can put those into a portfolio, kind of look at how that is going to change the allocation or the risk paradigm of the portfolio, and let that all flow through to the reports and things you're going to talk to your clients about. So we're really enjoying that, and we're getting great feedback on that part of the market. We are seeing things move downstream though, as far as desire for investment in some of the traditional drawdown products. We also hear a lot of people when they talk about alts talking about things like structured notes, right? So I think some of the demand there, maybe with the higher yields, there's more attractive structured notes that can get put together, on the drawdown funds. I've heard a lot of parallels to how advisors used to be able to get their clients into IPOs or kind of get that early exposure to businesses, but businesses aren't IPOing at the same point in their life cycle anymore. So they want to be able to get that exposure to younger companies. And one of the ways to do that is through private equity and, through private credit and those type of private market investments. So I think the demand's there. I think also as we're seeing more and more of the traditional portfolio management become, I don't want to say automated, but, a little bit more structured, with ETF portfolios and things like that. The way that advisors can differentiate is by offering access to things that are, unique and give investors the opportunity to have those things in their portfolio. So where we're really focused is enabling that conversation between the advisor and their client, and being able to talk about those things, like how does it change the makeup of your portfolio if we're going from a 60-40 structure to a 60-30-10. With alternative investments. What does that mean from a fee standpoint, from liquidity? How's that changing your correlation, between your holdings or, the overall risk metrics of your portfolio? How does that align with what we've discussed with you as a client? So really trying to enable that conversation and help advisors look at these portfolios in a holistic way, the same way that they're used to or have been used to with more traditional asset classes like stocks, ETFs, mutual funds, SMAs, things like that.
Yeah, so one of the things that advisors want to do, especially when they're talking to prospects who might be coming over from a current advisor, or maybe they're DIY and they just have their own portfolio, is kind of taking, here's your current portfolio, right? Here's what it looks like now. Here's the fees you pay, all this stuff. Now here's what we can do for you. And here's the difference. So what sort of like scenario analysis portfolio tools do you have for advisors who want to show, look, this is what you're currently getting. This is how the transition will look to what we're doing. And this is these are the differences. How do you handle that with advisors?
Yeah. So you basically told the story exactly the way that we try to set up reports to help our advisors tell that story. So it's a simple side-by-side analysis that you can look at any aspect of the portfolio that you want to. So whether it be asset allocation, quantitative risk metrics, how a risk profile is a better match for one portfolio versus another. Again, just look at that correlation matrix and show how you might be getting some non-correlated movements in the portfolio by having these extra holdings built in, and have this all presented in a clear report that's really easy to understand, something you can discuss on a screen or on a PDF that you might bring to that meeting. And then the transition analysis is another important part of it, right? Because it's one thing to sit down and show a model portfolio or a strategy to a prospect. It's another to actually move their assets over and understand what that means from a tax perspective and how you're going to liquidate certain positions and how you might want to do some of that in qualified versus non-qualified accounts. So we can kind of break that whole transition plan down across the accounts and include that in the report too, so that the next step in that engagement is actually saying, all right, how are we going to get you into these investments that we discussed and got you excited about?
Right, and then probably one of the biggest things is taking the data and analysis tools that you can run on YCharts, but then, as you said, you can also just funnel it right into a presentation, right? That's the part where you're making that next step easy. So it's not just the data, it's here's now taking it and here's the ability to present it to your client easier.
Exactly. Another place that we've started too is a lot of the advisors that are already working with some of these alts, they have them reported in other systems, and we can bring that data directly into YCharts. So if you already have your portfolio accounting system properly accounting for all the alternative asset types in your portfolios, you can import that data right into YCharts, model that into your portfolios with the return history that you're already getting from the GPs.
That's good. I was gonna ask that, because one of the big pain points for most advisors is the tech stack. So even if they like this certain program or this certain system, well, it doesn't work with that one over there. And this one doesn't work with that one. And I've never heard an advisor who say, yeah, I'm completely happy with everything. Everything, this one talks to this one and that one talks to that one. It's usually that you have this over here and this over here, and then you try to bring them all together yourself. So yeah, how do you think about that integration? Like, how do you try to make advisors' lives easier from that perspective? Because it can be very maddening if you have all these systems in place and they do one thing really well, but they don't work with this other one really well.
Yeah, this is a conversation we've been having with advisors since YCharts really entered the market. I'm sure it's been a topic that, has been on your mind and other folks over at Ritholtz, since you've been working in the industry. It's always been a challenge. You've got data. Not only do you need systems to have data speak to one another and move data back and forth, but you need that data to match. You need to be unified. And the more systems you get in place, even just identifying the same client from one system to another can be challenging and getting things to map properly. But YCharts sits in a really, a nice position in that most of what we're dealing with is financial data, account holdings, portfolios. So the number one thing that we're trying to do when we build integrations with our partners is just eliminate the need for manual data entry. So whether that be importing all of your client portfolios and accounts and structuring those, running the analytics in YCharts, making any changes that you might need to, and pushing things back over the other system, that's by far our most common integration, just so that you can get started on those analytics. You can run the reports without having to hand key any of that data in. Now, that's great if you have your clients already established and their data is already in your custodial platform or your portfolio accounting system, you can bring it over. But then you also have your prospects, or you have clients that have held away accounts. You have prospects that you might be looking at a statement or something that they have that you're hoping to bring over, right? So we've actually used an AI tool that we built, Quick Extract, where you can upload any type of file, any type of system, image, whatever it might be, and we'll extract all the data from that and build the portfolio so you can run the analytics and run the
So you could take a PDF and not pull all the data and put it into Excel and have it all be messed up. So you can just take the PDF and your imaging will take it and upload the data for you.
Exactly. You can do it with a PDF. You can even just take your iPhone. You can take a picture of somebody's screen. You can upload that. The tools out there are amazing now as far as being able to extract data from any type of file, whether it be an image or PDF, and we can turn that into a portfolio in a matter of seconds.
That is crazy. It's crazy how much that used to be a sticking point for us. We would get a 130-page report from one of these big wirehouse brokerage firms because they had all these different holdings, and then someone would have to manually enter or try to copy and paste from the PDF, and it seems stupid now, but it was a real pain point. It would take a lot of time for someone. Now you can just make it easier. And I've been using your AI tool not for that more and more in recent months. Just instead of searching for something myself or trying to do the work myself and taking the numbers and pulling them and pulling, because you can take the data from YCharts and easily export it to Excel, and I've done that for years. But now sometimes I just prompt myself, hey, you ask, all you have to do is in the prompt ask a question, right? Hey, what are the last 10 years returns look like for the U.S. housing market for the Case-Shiller National Housing Price Index? Instead of me pulling the data and putting it somewhere else, this AI tool just does it for me. It's very seamless. So what is the genesis of using this AI tool on YCharts, which some people might not even know exists, because you can, again, just ask questions right in the prompt, and how has that worked with the product?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought this up, Ben. I'm also glad to hear that you're using it, especially. So one of the best things about YCharts is our huge database of economic indicator database, right? Our economic indicator data. So you mentioned like housing starts or some of that other government data. That data has always been really insightful, and it's great, the images and things you can do with charts with that. The challenge with that data is it's very unstructured, right? It doesn't have ticker symbols. There's not a way that how to tie news stories or information directly to that data so that when you look at it, you can understand what was driving the moves there or where it came from. AI's made that all so much easier to work with. So that's like an amazing use case for our AI chat, where you can just go in there, you can ask about housing starts, you can say how that's changed over time and get that information right away. Now, you bring up AI, right? AI is everywhere. Every conversation we're having with prospects and clients and other partners in the industry, everybody's asking what we're doing with AI. It's the question that everyone's facing. The way that I'm thinking about it, and I think a lot of people are, is the whole perception of how people expect to interact with data, interact with software, and interact with devices has completely changed, right? Ben, you have kids, right? We know that. Do your kids ever mime talking on the phone?
Oh
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
like they would mean like they would rather text or they would rather instead of talking.
Well, I guess I was thinking, so I was talking to a couple of my friends the other day, and we were talking about how when we were growing up, you would kind of play this game and you would hold your hand like this, right? If you were making a pretend phone call. And now you see kids and they do the
Yeah,
palm
my
thing.
daughter does this, like she's holding an actual phone, right? Yeah.
Right. It's totally different, right? And I've got a 4-year-old, and one of the recent things we gave her, just a little toy watch, right? Just this $20 toy watch. It can take pictures. But we gave it to her. She was super excited, had her favorite characters on it. But the first thing she did when she put it on is she just started telling it what to do. Like, take a
That's
picture.
my kids, every time they see a radio, my kids yell at it, hey, play this or do that. Or yes, they want everything on demand and make it easy, right?
Yeah. And for me, that was just kind of an eye-opening moment of realizing like the paradigm's changed. Like the expectation, especially as these younger generations get older, is not that you're going to swipe a screen or, hit a keyboard or do any type of kind of interactions to get the information out of the data or to get a device to do what you want it to do. You're just going to speak to it. You're going to interact with it the same way you would another human. And that's where things are headed. So that's a lot of what our focus has been, right? So you mentioned where our AI chat is now, but where we're headed is developing that into a true AI assistant where you could just say, hey, I'm getting ready to meet with Ben, import his portfolios, create the reports, send those to my inbox. And that way, all the workflows that you used to do in YCharts to get ready for that meeting, that AI assistant will take care of those for you and get you all set up for that.
Well, yeah. Well, people keep saying this is the worst these AI models are ever going to be. Like they're only going to get better from here. So, like, how far away are we from just having your own YCharts assistant? Like, is that obviously you can't give an end date, but like, how close are we to actually having that and saying, hey, I'm meeting with this client. Here's their 3 biggest concerns: interest rates, inflation, and what this means to their portfolio. Create a presentation for me. Pull the data from YCharts. Give me some charts. Give me 5 talking points. Like, how far away are we from it just being this assistant that is totally integrated with everything that you want? And obviously, there's still going to have to be the human element of cleaning up, and you're not just going to be able to trust it, explicitly. You're going to have to go through and make sure, like, yes, this is exactly what I asked for, or you're going to have to check the work, essentially, I'm sure. But are we pretty close to that?
We're not that far. That's exactly the types of workflows that we're working on right now. The technology is pretty much there, right? It's just a matter of connecting all the different tools that you have and having your AI assistant know that they can access these different tools and then be able to process that, prompt or command and go fetch the right information from the right tools. The way I like to describe it right now, and I think where I don't know if they're challenges, but just the learning curve that people are going to have to get over as we enter this space, right? So when you get ready for a meeting or maybe if you're even getting ready for your podcast, right? There's probably a lot of information charts that you're getting ready, you're preparing, exactly where everything is. Maybe you have it in folders. If you asked an assistant to do that, like a real assistant that you have a good idea that there's going to be great information in that folder. You're going to be well prepared when you open it up, but you don't know exactly what it's going to be. It could be, they may have used a different source for some of the data than what you would have if you put that together on your own. So I think it's that same kind of experience where you're going to get great outputs. They might just not be exactly what you would have created on your own until you interact with that assistant enough to train it to repeatedly kind of give you exactly what you need. But as far as the technology being there and how far down the road it is until those workflows actually happen and you can be well prepared for a meeting or get a presentation built without having to interact with the individual tools themselves, it's not too far down the road.
This is like a little beyond the scope of this conversation because we're talking to financial advisors, but I have to imagine that AI has to be helpful for you in terms of, because you're also a tech company, right? A lot of this stuff is the coding and the programming behind the scenes. Is that more helpful in terms of making you a more efficient company as well?
Absolutely. So the number one impact we've seen from AI so far is just helping us move faster and do things better. In the last probably year to date or so, I'd say about 25% of our code has been generated by AI, right? So wow. It doesn't mean that
so if a client comes to you and wants some sort of bespoke something, hey, I want this, maybe you can't do, like, it's easier for you to take prompts, I guess, or take requests. Is that possible?
I think we're able to turn around the results of those requests faster. I think we can just move faster in every regard. We can also do things that were difficult, right? I mentioned that ability to extract information from a PDF or from an image and build a portfolio. Something like that a few years ago, you would have had to rely on OCR technology. You'd have had to pair that up with probably real humans going through and, checking for that information and moving it over. With AI, we could do that pretty easily, and we could turn around, a product that did that we could bring to market, in weeks, right? As opposed to something that probably would have taken many months, if not, years to develop in the past. So it helps us move faster, and it helps us accomplish things that would have been really difficult to accomplish, without a ton more resources.
And it does feel like you guys are putting out new tools now every couple of months. Like it does seem like it's coming faster. So since we've been on the platform, it's been tons of additions in terms of just sort of data screeners, like I mentioned, scenario analysis, presentation tools, portfolio optimizers, any type of, like you said, portfolio analysis tools, model portfolios. So other than AI, like what are you working on now that you're trying to help advisors take advantage of to make their lives easier?
Yeah, so it's a lot of those tools you mentioned, and it kind of ties into AI, which means making those tools easier to use, making the workflows easier to accomplish with AI. So you mentioned things like our scenarios tool and some of our tools where you can assemble tables of data and run screens. A lot of those tools you can already just interact in natural language instead of going into the menu. So in our scenario tool, you can just say, compare a $10,000 investment 10 years ago in BND versus SPY. Let's say we invest $1,000 a month, throughout that time period, forecast it out 10 years using a Monte Carlo analysis, and then let's draw $1,000 a month out of the portfolio. You can just type all of that in. It will build the whole scenario. It'll chart it. It'll show you all of your contributions and withdrawals and show you kind of what your likelihood of running out of money over a certain time.
So yeah, we've having a lot of conversation about that. I had Bill Bengen on the show a couple weeks ago to talk about withdrawal strategies. And I think if a lot of advisors are realizing like, oh wait, this is it's for clients too. This is a lot more difficult than building wealth for people, right? The building wealth stuff, it slowly happens behind the scenes. You don't have to be quite as thoughtful about it. But taking money out, there's, when do I take it out? How much can I take out? What are the tax implications? What accounts should I take it out of? So you're saying you can input all these things in there, build a plan for me, show me 3 different scenarios based on the market doing A, B, and C, and it'll kind of show you here's what your ending balance would be, and here's how much money you take out, and all this stuff.
Yeah, you can compare different investments, different portfolios across those different strategies too, to see how you might fare better or worse in different allocation strategy. But exactly.
That's great. So YCharts has been a big presence at Future Proof from the very first festival. You've even brought your family out there before, right? Wife and
I did, yeah. I brought my wife and my daughter. It was before we had 2. Now that we've got 2, it's a little more challenging.
A little more.
You've got 3, so I'm not making you feel bad.
Yeah, no, they're not coming. They'd be at the beach and they'd be getting sand everywhere, and it would be a mess. So what's going on at the YCharts booth this year for all advisors who are attending? What are we looking at? Yeah,
so we're excited to talk to everybody. I mean, we love the networking that comes from Future Proof, and it's a great setting to meet with a lot of people that know our brand really well from all the great work that you and Michael and the rest of the Ritholtz team do, talking about YCharts a lot, interacting with clients and giving them previews of some of what we're working on. We talked about some of these AI tools. We also just rolled out fixed income, so individual fixed income. I think bonds are back in a way. We're seeing huge inflows into bond funds versus equity funds. And
so what are you looking at there? Is it just individual bond portfolios like ladders, or what are you looking at with fixed income?
Yeah, exactly. So anything that you would do in a portfolio with individual bonds, you can now do that in YCharts. Prior to this past week, if you had bond exposure, we were proxying that or using ETFs or mutual funds to get there. But now the individual bonds across all corporates, governments, munis, you can build those out and incorporate all of that data into your portfolio too.
Perfect. So if you are at Future Proof, check out the YCharts booth. Caleb and team will be there. Just tell everyone where to find YCharts if they don't know where it is.
Yeah, I guess on the internet, YCharts.com. I guess at Future Proof too, though, don't miss stopping by. Nick Majouli's going to be signing his book, so
that's
we got
right.
that going on our booth. I think that's Tuesday afternoon, so don't miss that part.
All right, thank you, Caleb. We appreciate it. Remember, check out advisorunlock.com for our newsletter for all your wonderful needs for advisors. Thanks to YCharts for helping out here today, and Caleb, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, Ben, appreciate it. It's an honor. Take care.